The sewing machine's rhythmic hum echoed through the cramped basement apartment as Maya Washington bent over her work, her skilled fingers guiding delicate silk through the needle. Outside, the Los Angeles rain drummed against the small window, each drop a reminder of the roof leak she couldn't afford to fix. Her stomach growled. Dinner would be instant noodles again, if she was lucky enough to have any left in the cupboard. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Maya had no idea that in just 12 hours, a stranger would walk through her door and change everything. She couldn't have imagined that a simple act of kindness would set in motion events that would either elevate her to heights she'd only dreamed of, or destroy the fragile life she'd built from nothing. But that's the thing about destiny. It rarely announces itself with fanfare. Sometimes it arrives soaking wet, desperate, and wearing a torn designer dress worth more than Maya had ever seen in her 26 years of life. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she finished the delicate beadwork on Mrs. Chun's wedding dress alteration. It was nearly midnight, and she'd been working for 14 hours straight, but the rent was due in 3 days, and she was still $40 short. The basement apartment she called home doubled as her workshop, with fabric scraps and sewing supplies covering every available surface, except for the narrow path between her bed and the ancient sewing machine her grandmother had left her. "Just breathe, Maya," she whispered to herself, a habit she'd developed during the loneliest nights. Grandma Essie always said good work speaks for itself. The memory of her grandmother's weathered hands teaching her to sew brought both comfort and pain. Essie Washington had been a seamstress for 60 years, working for wealthy families in Atlanta's Buckhead district, always dreaming of having her own boutique, but never quite saving enough to make it happen. She'd passed away just as Maya was finishing her fashion design degree at a small community college, leaving behind boxes of fabric, that old Singer sewing machine, and dreams she'd never lived to see fulfilled. Maya had come to Los Angeles with those dreams burning bright in her chest and exactly $300 in her pocket. That was 2 years ago. Now, as she surveyed the cluttered space that served as both her home and her business, she wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. The wedding dress was beautiful, ivory silk with intricate pearl beading that caught the light from her single desk lamp. Mrs. Chun had found Maya through a Craigslist ad, one of the few brides willing to trust an unknown seamstress working out of a basement. The dress had originally been her mother's, worn in 1985, and needed significant alterations to fit Mrs. Chun's smaller frame. Maya had spent 3 weeks carefully deconstructing and rebuilding the gown, preserving every delicate detail while creating something that looked entirely new. As she packed the dress carefully in tissue paper, Maya allowed herself a moment of pride. This was what she lived for, taking something forgotten and making it beautiful again. But pride didn't pay bills, and at $25 for the alteration, she was barely breaking even on materials. Her phone buzzed with a text from her landlord, Marcus Rivera. He was a decent man who'd given her a break on the security deposit when she'd first moved in. But even his patience had limits. "Maya, I know things are tight, but I need that rent by Friday. The property management company is breathing down my neck. Can you make it work?" She stared at the message for a long moment before typing back, "I'll have it, Mr. Rivera. Thank you for understanding." It was a promise she hoped she could keep. Maya's stomach chose that moment to remind her she'd forgotten to eat again. She opened the small refrigerator tucked into the corner. Half a carton of milk, some leftover rice from 3 days ago, and a single apple that had seen better days. The rice would have to do. As she heated the rice in her ancient microwave, Maya's mind wandered to the sketchpad hidden under her bed, filled with dozens of original designs, evening gowns that flowed like liquid starlight, cocktail dresses that would make any woman feel like royalty, business suits that commanded respect without sacrificing femininity. She'd shown them to exactly 3 people: her grandmother before she died, Her roommate Sarah, who'd moved back to Ohio last month, and one boutique owner in Beverly Hills who'd looked at her sketches for exactly 30 seconds before dismissing her with a polite smile and the devastating words, "These are nice, dear, but we're looking for something more established." Established. Maya had turned that word over in her mind 1,000 times since then. How was she supposed to become established when no one would give her a chance? The fashion industry in Los Angeles was a fortress with walls built from connections, money, and the right last name. Maya had none of those things. What she did have was skill. Her grandmother had made sure of that, starting her on simple stitches when she was 5 years old and gradually teaching her every technique passed down through generations of black seamstresses who'd created beauty in the shadows, while others took credit in the spotlight. Maya could look at a piece of fabric and see its potential, could take measurements by eye that were more accurate than most people could manage with a tape measure, could repair tears so seamlessly that even experts would struggle to find where the damage had been. But skill without opportunity was like a song no one would ever hear. The microwave beeped, pulling her back to the present. As she ate the rice mechanically, Maya reviewed her client list for the upcoming week. Mrs. Patterson needed a hem on her church dress, $15. Young Jessica Martinez wanted her prom dress taken in, $30 if Maya was lucky. The Hendersons had a tear in their living room curtains that needed mending, $10, maybe $12 if she could talk them into replacing the lining. It wasn't enough. It was never enough. Maya finished eating and was about to start cleaning up her workspace when she heard footsteps in the narrow alley outside her window. Heavy, uneven steps like someone was struggling. Then voices, a woman's voice, strained and urgent, and a man's voice, angry and getting closer. "Please just leave me alone," the woman was saying. "I told you, I'm not interested." "Come on, sweetheart, don't be like that," the man replied, his words slurred. "I just want to talk." "That's a pretty dress you got there. Bet it cost more than my car." Maya moved to the window and carefully pulled back the curtain. In the dim light from the street lamp, she could see a woman pressed against the brick wall of the building, her elegant black dress torn at the shoulder. The man facing her was large, swaying slightly, clearly intoxicated. Maya recognized him. Derek Sullivan, one of the neighborhood regulars who spent most evenings at Murphy's bar down the street and most nights causing trouble. The woman was trying to edge away from him, but Derek blocked her path. Even from her basement window, Maya could see the fear in the woman's posture. Maya didn't hesitate. She grabbed the heavy flashlight she kept by her bed and headed for the door. Her basement apartment had a separate entrance that led directly to the alley, a feature that had made the rent slightly more affordable and was now proving invaluable. "Hey," Maya called out as she stepped into the alley, a flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. "Derek, what are you doing out here?" Derek turned, squinting against the light. "Maya? This ain't your business, girl. Go back inside." "It becomes my business when it's happening outside my door," Maya replied, keeping her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "The lady said she wants to be left alone." The woman looked at Maya with a mixture of surprise and relief. Even in the harsh beam of the flashlight, Maya could see she was beautiful. Smooth, dark skin, natural hair styled in an elegant updo that had been messed up by the struggle, and eyes that held intelligence and strength despite her current situation. The torn dress looked expensive, designer quality, though Maya couldn't place the label in the dim light. "See?" Derek laughed, but there was an edge to it. Even the basement girl knows quality when she sees it. "This one's got money, Maya. Rich girls don't belong in neighborhoods like this unless they're looking for trouble." "The only trouble here is you," Maya said firmly. "Go home, Derek. Sleep it off." For a moment, the alley was silent except for the sound of rain on concrete. Derek's eyes flicked between Maya and the woman, calculating. Maya held her breath, hoping her show of confidence was more convincing than she felt. Finally, Derek shrugged. Whatever. Ain't worth the hassle. He turned and stumbled away, muttering under his breath about uppity women and minding your own business. Maya waited until his footsteps faded before lowering the flashlight. The woman slumped against the wall, relief evident in every line of her body. "Thank you," she said, her voice carrying the faint trace of a southern accent. "I wasn't sure what I was going to do. Are you hurt?" Maya asked, moving closer. "Do you need me to call someone?" The woman touched the torn shoulder of her dress and winced. "Just bruised, I think. My phone died, and my car broke down about 6 blocks from here. I was trying to find somewhere to call for help when—" She gestured vaguely in the direction Derek had gone. Maya studied the woman's face in the dim light. There was something familiar about her, though Maya couldn't place it. "You can use my phone," she offered, "and I might be able to help with that tear in your dress if you want. I'm a seamstress." The woman's eyes widened slightly. "Really? You wouldn't mind? I have an important meeting tomorrow, and this is—" She paused, seeming to consider her words. "This dress is special too. Ma." "Come on in," Maya said, leading the way to her apartment door. "I'm Maya Washington, by the way." "Victoria," the woman replied after a brief hesitation. "Victoria Sterling." As Maya opened the door to her cramped basement apartment, she had no idea that Victoria Sterling was actually Victoria Blackwood, one of the most powerful producers in Hollywood, responsible for launching the careers of dozens of A-list actors and directors. She didn't know that the special dress was a custom piece from a haute couture designer worth more than Maya would earn in 6 months. And she certainly couldn't have imagined that this chance encounter would challenge everything she thought she knew about her own worth, her dreams, and what was possible when kindness opened doors that talent alone couldn't budge. All Maya knew was that someone needed help, and helping was what her grandmother had taught her to do, regardless of the circumstances or the potential for reward. It was a lesson that was about to change both of their lives forever. Victoria Sterling stepped into Maya's basement apartment and tried not to let her surprise show on her face. She'd been inside multi-million-dollar homes, exclusive penthouse suites and lavish film sets, but there was something about this small space that struck her immediately. Despite its obvious limitations, everything was meticulously organized and purposeful. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Bolts of fabric were arranged by color along makeshift shelves, creating a rainbow wall that somehow made the cramped quarters feel larger. A vintage dress form stood in one corner, draped with a half-finished burgundy evening gown that made Victoria pause. Even unfinished, she could see the craftsmanship in every seam, the way the fabric fell in perfect lines that would flatter any figure. "Please, sit wherever you're comfortable," Maya said, quickly clearing pattern pieces from the only chair in the room. "Would you like some water?" "I'm sorry, I don't have much else to offer." Victoria waved off the apology, settling into the chair while Maya busied herself clearing space on the small table. "This is your workshop?" she asked, genuinely curious. "You run your business from here?" "For now," Maya replied, a slight flush coloring her cheeks. "It's not much, but it works. Here, let me take a look at that tear." As Maya examined the damaged dress under the bright desk lamp, Victoria found herself studying the young woman's face. There was a concentration there, an intensity that Victoria recognized. She'd seen it in the faces of directors reviewing dailies, actors preparing for crucial scenes, writers wrestling with impossible deadlines. It was the look of someone who cared deeply about their craft. "This is beautiful work," Maya murmured, running her fingers along the dress's seams. Hand-stitched with reinforced stress points. Whoever made this knew what they were doing. Victoria felt a small smile tug at the corner of her mouth. The dress had been created by Isabelle Moreau, one of Paris's most exclusive designers, and had cost more than most people's annual salary. "Can it be fixed?" "Absolutely," Maya said without hesitation. "The tier is clean and the fabric structure isn't compromised. I can reinforce it so well that it'll actually be stronger than before. But I should warn you, it'll take me a few hours to do it properly. You mentioned an important meeting tomorrow." Victoria checked her watch. It was already past midnight. "Yes, but not until late afternoon. I could come back for it." "You could stay if you want," Maya offered, then immediately looked embarrassed. By her own suggestion. "I mean, I have a couch. It's not much, but it's clean, and the neighborhood can be rough at night. Plus, this way I can make sure the repair meets your standards." Something in Maya's tone, genuine concern mixed with professional pride, made Victoria pause. When was the last time someone had offered her something without wanting anything in return? In her world, every invitation came with an agenda. Every kindness had a price tag. "That's very generous of you," Victoria said carefully. "But I should probably call a car service, get a hotel room, ... Your phone's dead, remember?" Maya pointed out with a gentle smile. "And honestly, most of the hotels around here aren't places you'd want to spend the night, but it's up to you. You can use my phone to call whoever you need." Victoria considered her options. She could call her assistant, wake her up, arrange for a car and a suite at the Beverly Hills Hotel. She could return to her world of 5-star service and thread counts that cost more per yard than Maya probably earned in a week. Or she could stay here in this tiny basement apartment with a woman who'd rescued her from a dangerous situation and was now offering to spend her night fixing a stranger's dress. "If you're sure I won't be imposing," Victoria heard herself say, "I'd appreciate that." Maya's face lit up with genuine pleasure. "Great, let me get started on this dress. Feel free to use my phone if you need to call anyone." As Maya settled at her sewing machine, Victoria realized she had no one to call. Her assistant would handle any morning emergencies. Her meetings could wait, and there was no one in her personal life who would worry about her absence. The thought was more unsettling than she'd expected. "So," Victoria said, settling back into the chair, "how long have you been doing this, sewing?" "Since I was 5, Maya replied, her hands already moving with practiced precision as she carefully removed the damaged section. "But running my own business? Just about 2 years now." "That's brave. Starting your own company is never easy." Maya laughed, but there was no humor in it. Company might be a generous term. Most days it feels more like I'm just trying to survive. Victoria watched as Maya worked, noting the way her fingers moved with absolute confidence despite the delicate nature of the repair. "You're very skilled. Where did you train?" "Community college in Atlanta for formal education, but mostly from my grandmother. She was a seamstress for 60 years and worked for some of the wealthiest families in the South. Never had her own shop, but she knew everything there was to know about creating beauty with fabric." There was something in Maya's voice when she mentioned her grandmother, love, respect, and a deep sadness that Victoria recognized. She'd heard that same tone in her own voice when she spoke about her father, a man who'd worked 3 jobs to put her through college and never lived to see her success in Hollywood. "She sounds like an amazing woman." "She was," Maya said softly. "She always said that good work would speak for itself, that if you put love and skill into something, people would recognize it eventually." "I'm still waiting for the eventually part." Victoria felt something twist in her chest. She'd built her career on recognizing talent, on seeing potential that others missed. Looking around this cramped apartment, watching Maya work with the kind of focused intensity she'd seen in Oscar-winning actors, she realized she was witnessing something rare, pure, undiscovered talent struggling against circumstances that had nothing to do with ability. "What would you do?" Victoria asked carefully, "if money weren't an issue?" If you could have any career you wanted? Maya's hands stilled for a moment before resuming their work. "I'd design," she said without hesitation. "Custom pieces for women who want something unique, something that makes them feel powerful and beautiful at the same time. I'd have a boutique where every woman could find something perfect for her body, her style, her story." "What's stopping you?" The question hung in the air for a long moment. Maya's laugh was bitter this time. "Reality, I guess. Do you know how much it costs to rent retail space in LA? To buy quality fabric, hire help, market a new brand? I can barely keep this place." She gestured around the apartment. "And even if I could afford it, this industry, it's not built for people like me. People like you?" Maya met her eyes directly. Poor, black, unknown, without connections or family money or the right last name. "I've shown my designs to boutique owners, fashion houses, even individual clients. With money. They look at my work, they say it's nice, and then they choose someone established, someone safe." Victoria felt a familiar anger rising in her chest, the same fury she'd felt watching talented actors get passed over for roles because they didn't fit some narrow definition of marketable. Seeing brilliant scripts rejected because they didn't follow formulas that had worked before. The entertainment industry was full of gatekeepers who confused familiarity with quality, who chose the predictable over the exceptional. "Show me," Victoria said suddenly. Maya looked up from her work. "Show you what?" "Your designs. The ones you mentioned." "Oh, you don't want to see those," Maya said quickly. "They're just sketches, nothing fancy." "I'm asking because I want to see them," Victoria said firmly. "Please." After a moment's hesitation, Maya set down her work and reached under the bed, pulling out a worn leather portfolio. She handed it to Victoria with obvious reluctance. "They're just ideas, really. Things I work on when I can't sleep." Victoria opened the portfolio and felt her breath catch. The sketches were extraordinary, not just the designs themselves, though those were stunning, but the way Maya had captured movement and emotion in simple pencil lines. Here was an evening gown that seemed to float off the page, there a business suit that conveyed both femininity and power. Each design told a story, suggesting a woman who was confident, beautiful, unstoppable. "Maya," Victoria said quietly, "these are incredible. You think so?" Maya's voice was small, hopeful despite herself. "I know so." Victoria turned page after page, her excitement building. "This one here, it's like armor made of silk. And this cocktail dress would photograph beautifully. The way you've designed the neckline, the movement in the skirt." She stopped abruptly, realizing she was analyzing the designs from a perspective Maya couldn't possibly understand. Victoria had spent 15 years dressing actors for red carpet events, award shows, and publicity campaigns. She knew what worked on camera, what conveyed the right image, what would make headlines for all the right reasons. "You have a really good eye," Maya said, continuing her work on the dress. "Most people just flip through quickly." Victoria closed the portfolio carefully, her mind racing. She built her career on taking risks, on betting on talent that others had overlooked. Some of her biggest successes had come from saying yes when everyone else said no, from seeing potential where others saw problems. Looking at Maya, bent over her sewing machine in a basement apartment, pouring skill and passion into repairing a stranger's dress for free, Victoria saw something that reminded her of herself 20 years ago. Hungry, talented, desperate for someone to take a chance. The difference was, Victoria had gotten her chance. Maya was still waiting for hers. "Maya," Victoria said carefully, "what if I told you I might know some people who would be interested in your work?" Maya's hands stilled. "What kind of people?" "People in entertainment. People who need custom pieces for special events, who value quality and originality over brand names." "You work in entertainment?" Maya asked, surprise evident in her voice. Victoria hesitated. She'd introduced herself as Victoria Sterling, her maiden name, but now the lie felt uncomfortable. Maya had been nothing but honest with her and had opened her home to a complete stranger. She deserved better than deception. I do, Victoria said slowly. I'm a producer. I work with actors, directors, people who need to look perfect at very public events. Maya set down her work entirely now, turning to face Victoria fully. A producer, like movies and TV? Movies, mostly. And you're right, your work would be perfect for my industry. The red carpet, award shows, premieres. Actors are always looking for something unique, something that will make them stand out. For a moment, Maya just stared at her. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. A Hollywood producer gets mugged in my alley, and I invite her in to fix her dress. If I wrote this in a story, no one would believe it. Life has a way of surprising us, Victoria agreed. The question is, what do we do with the surprises? Maya finished the final stitch on Victoria's dress, just as the first pale light of dawn crept through the basement window. She held up the garment, examining her work under the desk lamp. The repair was invisible, better than invisible, actually. The reinforcement she'd added would prevent future tears in that area, while maintaining the dress's original drape and movement. It's perfect, Victoria said softly from the couch where she'd been dozing. You've been working all night. I wanted to get it right, Maya replied, carefully hanging the dress on a padded hanger. Besides, I'm used to late nights. Most of my paying work has to be done around my day job schedule. Victoria sat up, suddenly alert. Day job? Maya felt heat creep up her neck. She'd been so caught up in their conversation, in the surreal experience of having a Hollywood producer in her apartment, that she'd forgotten to maintain the careful boundaries she usually kept around her personal life. I work mornings at Henderson's. Dry cleaning, she admitted. It's not glamorous, but it pays steady, and Mrs. Henderson lets me bring in small alterations sometimes. The skills transfer, you know. Victoria was quiet for a moment, and Maya braced herself for the change she'd seen in people's faces before, that subtle shift when they realized exactly how far down the economic ladder she was. But when Victoria spoke, her voice held something Maya hadn't expected: respect. You're working 2 jobs to keep your dream alive. That takes real strength. Or real stupidity, Maya said with a self-deprecating smile. Some days, I'm not sure which. I am, Victoria said firmly. I've met plenty of people in my industry who had every advantage handed to them and still couldn't make it work. What you're doing, keeping your standards high, maintaining your integrity while fighting for survival, that's rare. Maya's phone buzzed on the table. A text from Mrs. Henderson. Maya dear, I know it's early, but could you come in an hour early today? We have a rush order from the Fairmont Hotel. Wedding party emergency. Maya stared at the message, her heart sinking. She'd been awake for over 20 hours, and the thought of spending 8 hours on her feet at the dry cleaner after the emotional intensity of the night felt overwhelming. But she needed the money, especially with rent due. Problem? Victoria asked, noting Maya's expression. Work, Maya said simply. I should probably get ready to go. What time do you have to be there? 7. It's 6:15 now. Victoria stood up, moving to where her dress hung. Then we need to talk quickly. Maya, I want to make you an offer. Something in Victoria's tone made Maya look up sharply. What kind of offer? I have a premiere next week. Major studio film. A-list cast, red carpet coverage on every entertainment show in the country. The lead actress, Samantha Rhodes, has been struggling to find something that works for her. She's incredibly talented, but she's also a size 14 in an industry that typically dresses size 0s. Everything the studio stylists have shown looks like they're trying to hide her body instead of celebrating it. Maya's pulse quickened. She knew Samantha Rhodes, everyone did. The actress had broken through in indie films with powerhouse performances, but this was her first major studio picture. The kind of role that could launch her into the A-list stratosphere or cement her as a character actor, depending on how the public received her. "I've seen your sketches," Victoria continued. "You understand how to design for real women's bodies, how to create elegance and power regardless of size. I think you could create something extraordinary for her. You want me to design a dress for Samantha Rhodes?" Maya's voice came out higher than intended. "I want you to design a dress that will make her feel like the star she is. If she loves it, if it photographs well, if it makes the kind of impression I think it will ... Victoria paused. "It could change everything for you." Maya's hands were trembling slightly. This was the kind of opportunity she'd dreamed about, the break that could launch her career into the stratosphere. But reality crashed over her like cold water. "Victoria, I appreciate this more than you know, but I can't afford the materials for something like that. A red carpet gown, the kind of fabric that would be appropriate. We're talking thousands of dollars just for materials. And the timeline, when would you need it?" "Friday. The premiere is Saturday night." Maya's stomach dropped. "That's 6 days for a custom gown with fittings, final adjustments." She shook her head. "Even if I had the money for materials, I don't think it's possible." "What if money wasn't an issue?" Victoria asked. "What if I advanced the costs and you paid me back out of future commissions?" The offer hung in the air between them. Maya wanted to say yes so badly she could taste it, but years of careful financial management held her back. What if she doesn't like it? What if it doesn't work? "I'd owe you thousands of dollars I don't have." Victoria studied Maya's face for a long moment. "Can I ask you something? When you repaired my dress tonight, were you worried it wouldn't work?" "No, but that's different." "I know I can repair." "It's not different," Victoria interrupted gently. "You know your craft. I've seen your work. I've looked at your sketches. You have the skill to create something beautiful. The question is whether you have the courage to take the risk." Maya's phone buzzed again. Another text from Mrs. Henderson. More urgent this time. Maya looked at the message, then at Victoria, then at her grandmother's sewing machine sitting patiently in the corner. "If I say yes," Maya said slowly, "and somehow manage to create something incredible, what happens then?" "Then Samantha Rhodes walks down the red carpet wearing a Maya Washington original, and every stylist, every celebrity, every fashion editor in the country sees what you can do. Then you get the calls you've been waiting for. And if I fail?" Victoria's expression grew serious. "Then you're exactly where you are now, except with some debt." "But Maya, let me tell you something I've learned in 15 years of taking risks. On people, the biggest failure is always the chance you don't take." Maya closed her eyes, trying to imagine herself saying no, going to work at the dry cleaner, continuing the careful, small existence she'd built. Then she imagined herself saying yes, spending the next 6 days creating something that could change her life forever. "I'd need to see her," Maya said suddenly. "Samantha Rhodes. I'd need to meet with her, understand what she wants to convey, and take proper measurements. You can't design for someone's body without seeing how they move. How they carry themselves." Victoria smiled. "I can arrange that. And I'd need freedom to create what I think is right, not what some stylist or studio executive thinks is safe. You'd have complete creative control." Maya took a deep breath. "Then yes, I'll do it." Victoria's smile widened into a grin. "Excellent. I'll make some calls this morning and set up a meeting with Samantha for this afternoon. Can you get time off from your day job?" The reality of what she'd just committed to hitting Maya like a truck. "I'll have to call in sick. Mrs. Henderson is going to be furious. She really needs help with this wedding party emergency." "Maya," Victoria said gently, "sometimes you have to choose between the life you have and the life you want. They can't coexist forever. Maya nodded, her mind already racing ahead to fabric choices, design possibilities, the terrifying and exhilarating prospect of creating something for Hollywood's biggest stage. I should probably shower and try to look like someone who designs dresses for movie stars. You already look like that, Victoria said. You just need to believe it. As Victoria gathered her things to leave, Maya felt the weight of the moment settling around her. In 12 hours, she'd gone from heating leftover rice for dinner to accepting a commission that could transform her entire life. It felt surreal, impossible, like something that happened to other people in movies she'd never be able to afford to see. "Victoria," she called as the producer reached the door. "Why are you doing this? You barely know me." Victoria turned back, her expression thoughtful. "Because I know talent when I see it. And because 15 years ago, someone took a chance on me when they didn't have to. Sometimes the universe gives us opportunities to pass that forward." After Victoria left, Maya sat in her quiet apartment, staring at her grandmother's sewing machine. She could almost hear Essie's voice, warm and encouraging. "Baby girl, when opportunity comes knocking, you don't ask for references. You open the door and invite it in for tea." Maya picked up her phone to call Mrs. Henderson. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "Mrs. Henderson? It's Maya. I'm so sorry, but I won't be able to come in today. I have a family emergency." It wasn't entirely a lie. Her family's dreams were definitely having an emergency. They were about to either come true or crash spectacularly. Either way, Maya Washington was about to find out what she was really made of. Maya stood outside the towering glass building in Century City, checking the address on her phone for the third time. Blackwood Productions occupied floors 15 through 18 of the gleaming skyscraper, and Maya had never felt more out of place in her life. She'd chosen her best outfit, a navy blazer she'd found at a thrift store and altered to fit perfectly, paired with black slacks and the only pair of dress shoes she owned, but surrounded by the luxury cars and designer-clad people flowing in and out of the building. She felt like an imposter. The elevator ride to the 10th floor felt endless. Maya clutched her portfolio and a small bag containing her measuring tools, trying to calm her racing heart. When the doors opened, she stepped into a reception area that looked like something from a magazine, all white marble, modern art, and floor-to-ceiling windows offering breathtaking views of Los Angeles. "Maya Washington?" The receptionist, a polished young man with perfect teeth, smiled at her. "Miss Blackwood is expecting you. Conference room 3, just down the hall." Ms. Blackwood. Maya realized she still didn't know Victoria's full name in the business world. As she walked down the hallway lined with movie posters, films Maya recognized from their Academy Award nominations and box office dominance, she began to understand exactly who had offered her this opportunity. Victoria was waiting in the conference room with a woman Maya recognized immediately, though she looked different than in the magazines. Samantha Rhodes sat at the polished table wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her famous auburn hair pulled back in a messy bun. She looked younger in person, more approachable, but there was an undeniable presence about her that made sense of her meteoric rise in Hollywood. "Maya, perfect timing," Victoria said, standing to greet her. "I'd like you to meet Samantha Rhodes." "Samantha, this is Maya Washington, the designer I told you about." Samantha stood and extended her hand with a warm smile. "Victoria showed me some photos of your work this morning. I have to say I'm intrigued. Most designers in this town seem to think I should hide my body instead of celebrating it." Maya shook her hand, trying to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. "I believe every woman's body tells a story. The dress should help her tell it powerfully." "I like that," Samantha sighed, settling back into her chair. "Victoria tells me you work fast. 6 days is cutting it pretty close, even for Hollywood standards." "It's ambitious," Maya agreed, "but possible. I'll need to understand what you want this dress to say about you, what story you want to tell on the red carpet. Samantha leaned forward, her expression growing serious. This premiere, it's everything for me. I've done indie films, supporting roles, but this is my first shot at carrying a major studio picture. The reviews have been incredible, but I know the red carpet is part of the performance too. I need to look like I belong there, like I'm not just the quirky character actor who got lucky. Maya studied Samantha's face, seeing past the Hollywood glamour to the vulnerability underneath. She recognized that look, the fear of not being enough, of being judged and found wanting. It was the same expression Maya saw in her own mirror every morning. What makes you feel most powerful? Maya asked. The question seemed to surprise Samantha. Most powerful? When you're acting, when you're in your element, what does that feel like in your body? How do you carry yourself? Samantha was quiet for a moment, thinking. There's this scene in the film where my character confronts the man who's been undermining her career. She's wearing this simple black suit, nothing fancy, but she owns the room. She's not trying to be anyone else. She's just completely, unapologetically herself. Maya nodded, already seeing possibilities. That's what we need to capture. Not trying to transform you into someone else's idea of a movie star, but amplifying who you already are. Exactly, Samantha said, her eyes lighting up. I'm tired of stylists who want to put me in shapeless sacks, or squeeze me into sample sizes. That don't fit. I want to look powerful and elegant and like myself. Maya opened her portfolio, pulling out a sketch pad. Do you mind if I draw while we talk? I think better with my hands moving. Of course, Victoria said. We want you to be comfortable. As Maya began sketching, she asked questions about Samantha's comfort level with different necklines, her favorite colors, and the message she wanted to send. Gradually, an idea began to take shape on the paper, not just a dress, but a statement. What about deep emerald green? Maya asked, her pencil moving quickly across the page. It would be stunning with your hair color, and green represents growth, renewal, stepping into your power. I love green, Samantha said, leaning forward to watch Maya work. I've never worn it on a red carpet before. Good, unexpected choices. Get remembered. Maya continued sketching, adding details as she spoke. I'm thinking of a fitted bodice that celebrates your curves instead of hiding them, with a dramatic train that moves beautifully for photos. The neckline would be elegant but confident, showing strength, not vulnerability. Victoria watched Maya work with growing amazement. This was a different person than the uncertain woman who'd rescued her in the alley the night before. Here, discussing design and understanding her client's needs, Maya was completely in her element. The silhouette would be modern but with classic undertones, Maya continued, showing Samantha the evolving sketch. Timeless enough that when people look back at photos in 10 years, they'll still think it's beautiful. Samantha studied the drawing, her expression growing excited. This is exactly what I was hoping for, but couldn't articulate. How did you know? Because I understand what it's like to want people to see your worth, Maya said simply. To want to walk into a room and belong there completely. The honest vulnerability in Maya's voice created a moment of connection that Victoria could feel across the table. This was why she'd built her career on trust in her instincts about people. Sometimes the most powerful collaborations came from unexpected places. I want you to design this dress, Samantha said firmly. Victoria, whatever she needs, make it happen. Victoria smiled, already arranged. Maya, I've set up accounts at 3 premium fabric suppliers. They're expecting you this afternoon. Wait, Maya said, looking up from her sketch. Premium suppliers? I was planning to work with what I could afford. Not for this, Victoria said. Samantha will be photographed by every major entertainment outlet in the world. The dress needs to be museum quality, the kind of piece that could end up in fashion exhibitions, That requires the finest materials. Maya felt a moment of panic. I've never worked with fabrics that expensive. What if I make a mistake? You won't, Samantha said with surprising confidence. I can see it in how you work. You're not just talented, you're careful, thoughtful. You understand that this dress isn't just about me looking beautiful. It's about making a statement. There's something else, Victoria added. I've arranged for you to work in one of the studio's costume departments. They have equipment you'll need, professional pressing machines, proper lighting, space to work with the full train. Maya's head was spinning. 12 hours ago, she'd been eating leftover rice in her basement apartment. Now she was sitting in a conference room overlooking Los Angeles, discussing museum-quality fabrics and studio facilities. This is really happening, she said softly. Only if you want it to, Victoria replied. I won't lie. There's pressure. Here, if this goes well, it could launch your career beyond anything you've imagined. But if it doesn't work out, it will work out, Maya said, surprised by the certainty in her own voice. Looking at her sketch, at Samantha's encouraging smile, at Victoria's confident expression, she felt something she hadn't experienced in months, hope backed by real possibility. I'll need to take your measurements, Maya said to Samantha. And I'll want to schedule a fitting for Thursday afternoon, final adjustments Friday morning. Whatever you need, Samantha agreed. I'm in your hands. As Maya began the measuring process, she found herself thinking about her grandmother, about all the wealthy clients Essie had sewn for in Atlanta. Grandma Essie had always told her that good work spoke for itself, but Maya was beginning to understand that sometimes good work needed the right stage to speak from. Maya, Victoria said as they wrapped up the meeting, there's one more thing. The studio is sending a photographer to document the creation process. Nothing intrusive, just some behind-the-scenes shots for potential press. Press? Maya's voice squeaked slightly. If this dress makes the impact I think it will, people are going to want to know who created it, Victoria explained. We want to be ready to tell your story properly. Walking out of the building an hour later, Maya felt like she was floating. She had measurements, a clear vision, and access to resources she'd only dreamed about. More importantly, she had a client who believed in her vision and a producer who was willing to bet her reputation on Maya's talent. The first stop was Morrison Fabrics, an exclusive supplier in the fashion district that Maya had walked past dozens of times but never dared to enter. When she mentioned Victoria Blackwood's name, the staff treated her like royalty, bringing out bolt after bolt of silk, each more beautiful than the last dot, as Maya ran her fingers over a silk so smooth it felt like liquid emerald fire. She realized that everything was about to change. Win or lose after this week, she would never be the same person who'd heated leftover rice in a basement apartment. The question now was whether she was ready to become whoever she was meant to be. Maya's hands trembled as she made the first cut into the emerald silk. 3 days had passed since the meeting with Samantha, and she'd been working 18-hour days in the studio's costume department. The space was everything she'd dreamed of. Industrial sewing machines that could handle any fabric weight, professional steamers, cutting tables large enough to spread out the most elaborate gowns, and lighting that made every detail visible. But with the resources came pressure she'd never experienced before. Don't think about the cost, she whispered to herself, repeating the mantra that had gotten her through the last 72 hours. Think about the woman who will wear it. The emerald silk had cost more than Maya's monthly rent. The Austrian crystals she'd selected for accent beading cost more than her grocery budget for 6 months. Every cut, every stitch, carried the weight of investment that could either launch her career or bury her in debt she'd never escape. Her phone buzzed with a text from her landlord. Maya, haven't heard from you about the rent. Everything okay? Maya stared at the message, reality crashing over her like cold water. In her focus on the dress, She'd forgotten about her regular life, the bills that didn't stop coming just because she was chasing her dreams. Friday was tomorrow. Rent was due, and she'd called in sick to the dry cleaner for 3 straight days. Mrs. Henderson had left increasingly concerned voicemails that Maya hadn't had time to return. "How's it coming along?" Maya looked up to see James Chun, the head of the costume department, approaching her workstation. He'd been skeptical when Victoria had arranged for Maya to use the space, clearly viewing her as an inexperienced outsider invading his professional domain. But over the past 3 days, she'd watched his attitude shift from resignation to curiosity to something approaching respect. "It's challenging," Maya admitted, stepping back to give him a better view of her progress. The bodice was taking shape on the dress form, the emerald silk cut in panels that would hug Samantha's curves perfectly, while creating an elegant line from shoulder to hip. Maya had spent hours getting the fit exactly right, using the measurements she'd taken, but adjusting for the way different fabrics moved and stretched. "The construction is solid," James said, examining her seams. "You've got good instincts for how this fabric wants to behave." Coming from James, who'd worked on Academy Award-winning films and dressed some of the biggest stars in Hollywood, the compliment meant everything. Maya felt a surge of confidence that had been eroding under the pressure of the past few days. "The real test will be when Samantha tries it tomorrow," Maya said. "Fitting a real person is different than working with a dress form." "True, but you've built in the right adjustments. I can see it in how you've structured the support." James paused, studying Maya's face. "You know, when Victoria first brought you here, I thought this was some kind of publicity stunt. Hollywood loves a good underdog story. But watching you work... This isn't about the story. You really know what you're doing." Maya felt tears prick at her eyes, though whether from relief or exhaustion, she wasn't sure. "Thank you. That means more than you know." "Don't thank me yet," James said with a slight smile. "Wait until you see how it photographs under the premiere lights." After James left, Maya returned to her work, but his words echoed in her mind. Photography under premiere lights. Red carpet coverage. Millions of people see her work, judging it, comparing it to gowns created by established designers with decades of experience and unlimited budgets. The weight of it threatened to overwhelm her, but Maya forced herself to focus on the immediate task, attaching the crystals to the bodice in a pattern that would catch light beautifully without overwhelming the elegant lines of the dress. Each crystal had to be placed perfectly, sewn securely enough to withstand hours of wear, movement, and the inevitable adjustments that would happen during the premiere evening. "Maya?" She looked up to see Victoria approaching, accompanied by a man with a camera hanging around his neck. "This is David Martinez from Entertainment Weekly," Victoria said. "He's doing the behind-the-scenes piece we discussed. Is now a good time for a few photos?" Maya's first instinct was to say no. She was exhausted, stressed, wearing clothes she'd slept in the previous night when she'd worked until 3 a.m. But she remembered Victoria's words about being ready to tell her story properly. "Of course," Maya said, attempting to smooth her hair. "Though I'm not sure I'm very photogenic right now." "Are you kidding?" David said, already snapping pictures. "This is perfect. The intensity, the focus, the way you're handling those crystals, this is what people want to see. The real work. Behind the glamour." As David continued photographing, Victoria pulled Maya aside. "How are you holding up? And I mean really, not the polite answer." Maya appreciated the directness. "Terrified," she admitted. "I've never worked under this kind of pressure before. Every decision feels enormous because it is enormous. If this doesn't work... It will work," Victoria said firmly. "But I need to tell you something. Word is getting out about what we're doing. I've had calls from 3 different fashion editors asking about the new designer creating Samantha's dress. People are curious." Maya's stomach clenched. What kind of curiosity? The good kind mostly. But there will also be people hoping to see you fail. That's the nature of this business. There are always those who resent newcomers succeeding. No pressure, Maya said with a weak laugh. Actually, yes, pressure, Victoria replied. But pressure can create diamonds, or it can crush coal. The difference is what you're made of, and I already know what you're made of. That evening, alone in the studio after everyone else had gone home, Maya worked on the train of the dress. This was the element that would make or break the entire design. A flowing cascade of silk that would photograph beautifully, but couldn't be so heavy that Samantha couldn't move naturally in it. Her grandmother's words came back to her as she worked. Baby girl, when you're sewing for someone special, you put a little bit of your heart into every stitch. That's what makes the difference between a dress and a dream made real. Maya found herself thinking about all the women who would see this dress. Young black girls watching the red carpet coverage, wondering if they could ever belong in spaces like that. She thought about her grandmother, who had sewn beautiful things for other people her entire life, but never had the chance to see her work celebrated on a stage like this. This is for all of us, Grandma-essie, Maya whispered as she attached the final panel of the train dot around midnight. As Maya was packing up to finally go home, her phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but something made her answer. Is this Maya Washington, the designer? Yes, this is Maya. This is Rachel Morrison from Style magazine. I understand you're creating Samantha Rhodes's premiere dress. I'd love to schedule an interview. Maya's heart raced. Style magazine was one of the most influential fashion publications in the country. Yes, I'm designing for Ms. Rhodes. But I'm not sure about interviews. Oh, this would be wonderful publicity for you, Rachel continued. Especially since everyone's talking about how unusual this collaboration is. Unusual how? There was a pause. Well, you know, your background. It's such an interesting story. The struggling seamstress gets discovered and thrust into Hollywood. Glamour, very Cinderella-esque. Maya felt something cold settle in her stomach. The way Rachel said, your background, carried implications that made Maya's skin crawl. This wasn't about her talent or her work. This was about the narrative. The story that would sell magazines regardless of whether the dress was actually any good. I think I need to focus on finishing the dress right now, Maya said carefully. Perhaps we can talk after the premiere. Of course. But Maya, can I give you some friendly advice? This industry can be quite unforgiving to newcomers. Especially those who don't have traditional training. Make sure you're prepared for all kinds of feedback. After hanging up, Maya sat in the empty studio, staring at the nearly completed dress. For the first time since accepting Victoria's offer, she wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake. She'd been so focused on the opportunity, on the chance to prove herself, that she hadn't fully considered what would happen if she succeeded, or if she failed publicly. Tomorrow was the fitting with Samantha. In less than 48 hours, the dress would either vindicate Victoria's faith in her, or prove that talent without pedigree wasn't enough in the rarefied world of Hollywood fashion. Maya looked at her reflection in the dark window of the studio. The woman staring back at her looked exhausted, uncertain, overwhelmed. But her hands were steady, and the dress hanging behind her was beautiful. You've come this far, she said in her reflection. No turning back now. As she finally headed home to catch a few hours of sleep before the most important day of her career, Maya carried with her the weight of every woman who'd ever been told she didn't belong. Every dreamer who'd been dismissed before being given a real chance to prove themselves. Tomorrow, she would find out if dreams really could come true, or if some barriers were too high for talent alone to overcome. Maya arrived at the studio at dawn, her nerves frayed and her stomach churning. Today was the fitting, the moment when months of dreams and 4 days of intensive work would either Come together or fall apart completely. She'd barely slept, her mind cycling through every possible disaster scenario. The dress wouldn't fit. The design would look amateur under professional scrutiny. Samantha would hate it. Victoria would regret taking a chance on her. The dress hung in the climate-controlled garment room like a green goddess, every crystal catching the morning light. Maya had arrived early to make final adjustments, but standing before her creation, she realized there was nothing left to change. The dress was as perfect as she could make it. Now it was time to discover if perfect was enough. James Chun found her there, staring at the gown with the intensity of someone trying to memorize every detail. Second thoughts? He asked gently. Third and fourth thoughts, Maya admitted. James, what if I was wrong about everything? What if this doesn't work on a real person the way it works in my head? James stepped closer to examine the dress, his experienced eye taking in every element. Maya, I've been in this business for 25 years. I've dressed Academy Award winners, A-list stars, fashion icons. This dress. He paused, running his fingers along the emerald silk. This is exceptional work. The construction, the attention to detail, the way you've balanced elegance with power. It's exactly what a premier dress should be. But what if— Stop, James interrupted. You know what separates good designers from great ones? Good designers create beautiful clothes. Great designers create transformation. This dress doesn't just look stunning. It's going to make Samantha feel like the star she is. That's what matters. Before Maya could respond, voices echoed from the main studio. Victoria's laugh, followed by Samantha's warm tones, and other voices Maya didn't recognize. Her pulse quickened as she realized the moment had arrived. Showtime, James said with an encouraging smile. Maya wheeled the dress out to the main fitting area, where she found Victoria talking with Samantha and 3 other people, a photographer, a woman with an expensive handbag and the sharp eyes of a studio executive, and a man Maya recognized from fashion magazines as Marcus Williams, one of Hollywood's most influential stylists. Maya! Samantha's face lit up when she saw the dress. Oh my God, it's even more beautiful than I imagined. But Maya noticed the way Marcus's eyes narrowed as he assessed the gown, the clinical way the studio executive examined the construction, the photographer already calculating angles and lighting. This wasn't just a fitting, it was an evaluation, and Maya was the one being tested. Shall we get you into it? Maya asked, proud that her voice remained steady despite her racing heart. The next 20 minutes were the longest of Maya's life. In the privacy of the fitting room, she helped Samantha into the dress, making minute adjustments to ensure every element sat perfectly. The actress was unusually quiet, and Maya found herself holding her breath as she fastened the last hidden hook. How does it feel? Maya asked. Samantha turned to face the 3-way mirror, and Maya watched her expression transform. The actress straightened, her shoulders squaring, her chin lifting. The dress fit like it had been painted on her body, the emerald silk flowing in elegant lines that celebrated every curve while creating a silhouette that was both powerful and feminine. I feel ... Samantha paused, her eyes meeting Maya's in the mirror. I feel like I could conquer the world. They emerged from the fitting room together, Samantha moving with newfound confidence in the dress. The room fell silent as everyone took in the transformation. The gown was stunning in ways that photographs couldn't capture. The way it moved with Samantha's body, the way the crystals caught and reflected light, the way the train flowed behind her like liquid starlight. Turn. Slowly, the photographer called out, snapping pictures. The way that train moves, it's perfect for the carpet walk. Victoria's face showed pure satisfaction, but it was Marcus Williams' reaction that surprised Maya most. The stylist, known for his sharp critiques and impossibly high standards, was staring at Samantha with something approaching awe. This is extraordinary work, he said finally, addressing Maya directly. The fit is perfect, the proportions are exactly right for her body type, and the color. He shook his head. You've created something that will photograph beautifully, but also tells a story. This isn't just a pretty dress, it's a statement. The studio executive stepped forward, her expression more calculating. It's certainly striking, very distinctive, not what we typically see on the red carpet. Maya caught the subtext in the woman's tone and felt her defenses rise. Sometimes distinctive is exactly what's needed, she replied calmly. Of course, the executive backtracked quickly. I just mean it's very bold for a newcomer designer. There will be a lot of attention on this choice. That's exactly what we want, Victoria interjected smoothly. Samantha deserves attention for all the right reasons. Her talent, her beauty, her presence. This dress ensures she get it. As the fitting continued, Maya watched the dynamics in the room with growing understanding. This wasn't just about whether the dress was beautiful. It was about politics, about who got to decide what belonged. On Hollywood's biggest stage, about whether someone like Maya would be accepted in circles that had traditionally been close to outsiders. But watching Samantha move in the dress, seeing how it transformed not just her appearance but her entire presence, Maya felt a surge of confidence. Whatever the politics, whatever the traditional expectations, the dress worked. It did exactly what she'd intended it to do. There's one more thing, Victoria announced. Maya, I've arranged for some publicity around the premiere. Entertainment Tonight wants to interview you on the red carpet, and several fashion magazines have requested features. Maya's stomach dropped. Interviews? On the red carpet? You're the story here, Victoria explained. The talented unknown who created a show-stopping gown. People want to know who you are, how this happened. But what if they ask questions I can't answer? What if I say something wrong? Marcus Williams overheard and approached them. May I? He asked Victoria, who nodded. Maya, I'm going to give you some advice that took me years to learn. In this business, there will always be people who want to tear you down, who will look for reasons to dismiss your success. The only way to handle that is to be undeniably excellent and completely authentic. He gestured toward Samantha, who was practicing her red carpet walk in the dress. You've already achieved the first part. That dress is undeniably excellent. Now you just need to trust that your authentic self is enough. But what if my authentic self isn't glamorous enough for Hollywood? Maya asked quietly. Glamour is just packaging, Marcus replied. Talent is what lasts. And you, my dear, have the kind of talent that can't be faked or manufactured. As the fitting wrapped up and Samantha reluctantly changed back into her street clothes, Maya began to pack up her equipment. The dress would stay at the studio for final steaming and transport to the premiere venue. But seeing it hanging lifeless again after witnessing its transformation on Samantha felt like watching magic fade. Maya, Samantha called out as she prepared to leave. I need to tell you something. I've worked with some of the most expensive designers in the world, worn gowns that cost more than most people's cars. But I've never had a dress that made me feel the way this one does. It's not just beautiful, it's empowering. It makes me feel like the woman I want to be. After everyone left, Maya stood alone in the studio with Victoria. The space felt enormous and quiet after the energy of the fitting. How are you feeling? Victoria asked. Terrified, Maya admitted. Exhilarated. Overwhelmed. All at the same time. That sounds about right, Victoria said with a laugh. Maya, I want you to understand something. What happened here today, that dress, Samantha's reaction, the way everyone responded to your work, that's not luck. That's not a fluke. That's a talent meeting opportunity. And it's exactly what I hoped would happen when I offered you this chance. What happens now? Maya asked. Now you get ready for tomorrow night. The premiere, the red carpet, the interviews. After that ... Victoria paused, studying Maya's face. After that, your life changes forever. That evening, Maya returned to her basement apartment for the first time in 4 days. A space that had once felt like home now seemed impossibly small and shabby. Clothes were scattered everywhere. Dirty dishes filled the sink, and the air was stale from being closed up. But sitting on her bed, looking at her grandmother's sewing machine in the corner, Maya felt a deep sense of connection to where she'd started. Her phone rang, her mother calling from Atlanta. "Maya, baby, I saw something on social media about you designing a dress for some movie star. Is that true?" "It's true, Mama. The premiere is tomorrow night." "Lord have mercy," her mother breathed. "Your grandmother would be so proud." "Are you nervous?" "Terrified," Maya said honestly. "Good. That means it matters to you. Your grandmother always said the best work comes when something matters enough to scare you." After hanging up, Maya opened her laptop and did something she'd been avoiding. She searched for news about tomorrow's premiere. What she found made her blood run cold. Entertainment blogs were already speculating about Samantha's dress choice, and several had discovered Maya's identity. The comments ranged from supportive to cruel, with some questioning whether an unknown designer was worthy of such a high-profile debut. "Who is Maya Washington?" read one headline. "The mystery designer, taking Hollywood by storm." Another blog post was less kind. "Risky choice. Will Samantha Rhodes' unknown designer deliver or disappoint?" The comment section was worse. Mixed among genuine curiosity and support were remarks that made Maya's skin crawl, questioning her qualifications, her background, her right to be creating for Hollywood's elite. Some of the language was coded, but the message was clear. She didn't belong. Maya closed the laptop, her hands shaking. Tomorrow night, she would stand on the red carpet and answer questions about her work, her background, her dreams. Millions of people would see the dress she'd created, judge it, critique it, decide whether she deserved the opportunity she'd been given. But then she thought about Samantha's face in the mirror when she'd first seen herself in the dress. She thought about James Chun's professional respect, Marcus Williams' praise, Victoria's unwavering confidence in her abilities. Most importantly, she thought about her grandmother, who had spent 60 years creating beauty for others while dreaming of a day when her family's talent would be recognized on the biggest stages. "Tomorrow night isn't just about me," Maya said aloud to the empty apartment. "It's about proving that talent comes from everywhere, that excellence doesn't require the right last name or the perfect pedigree." She spent the rest of the evening preparing for the interviews, practicing answers to the questions she knew would come. Where did you train? How did this opportunity happen? What's next for you? But the question that worried her most was the one she knew they wouldn't ask directly, but would be thinking, do you really belong here? Tomorrow night, with the whole world watching, Maya Washington would have to answer that question not with words, but with the stunning green dress that represented everything she'd ever dreamed of becoming. As she finally fell asleep in her small bed, surrounded by fabric scraps and sketches, Maya held on to one truth. Whatever happened tomorrow, she had created something beautiful, something that made an extraordinary woman feel powerful and confident. In a world that often tried to diminish both, that was no small achievement. The girl who had heated leftover rice just 5 days ago was about to find out if she had what it took to become the woman her grandmother had always believed she could be. The morning of the premiere dawned crystal clear in Los Angeles, the kind of perfect weather that seemed designed for Hollywood magic. Maya woke before her alarm, her stomach a knot of anticipation and terror. Today would either vindicate every risk she'd taken or destroy the fragile new world she'd built around herself. She dressed carefully in the one sophisticated outfit she owned, a black sheath dress she'd designed and sewn herself 2 years ago, paired with simple pearl earrings that had belonged to her grandmother. Looking in the mirror of her basement apartment one last time, Maya whispered the words Essie had always said before important moments. Lord, let my work speak for itself. The studio was buzzing with activity when Maya arrived. Samantha was already there, surrounded by a team of hair and makeup artists, transforming her into red carpet perfection. When she saw Maya, she broke into a radiant smile. Today's the day. Samantha called out, Are you ready to see your creation make history? Maya's heart swelled with pride, mixed with terror. As ready as I'll ever be. Victoria appeared at her elbow, looking polished and professional in a charcoal gray suit. Maya, I want you to meet someone. This is Elena Rodriguez from Vogue. She's here to cover the story. A stunning woman in her 40s extended her hand. With a warm smile. Maya, I've been following your work since yesterday's fitting photos surfaced. What you've created for Samantha is extraordinary. I'd love to interview you about your design process. As Maya answered Elena's thoughtful questions about inspiration and technique, she began to relax slightly. This wasn't the hostile interrogation she'd feared. Elena genuinely seemed interested in her craft, her journey, her artistic vision. There's been quite a bit of discussion online about your background, Elena said carefully. Some people seem surprised that such sophisticated work is coming from someone without traditional fashion school credentials. How do you respond to that? Maya had prepared for this question, but hearing it still stung. I think talent can come from anywhere, she said steadily. My grandmother taught me that excellence in craft comes from dedication, practice, and love for what you do, not from where you learned it. I've been sewing for over 20 years. The techniques I use have been passed down through generations of skilled seamstresses. That's a different kind of education, but it's just as valid. Elena nodded approvingly. Beautifully said. I think readers will find your story inspiring. As the afternoon progressed, Maya watched the transformation of Samantha Rhodes from accomplished actress to red carpet goddess. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo that would showcase the dress's neckline perfectly. Her makeup was dramatic but timeless, emphasizing her natural beauty rather than masking it. Finally, it was time for the dress. Maya's hands were surprisingly steady as she helped Samantha into the emerald creation. Every crystal was in place, every seam perfect, every element designed to make this moment transcendent. As the dress settled around Samantha's body, Maya felt a profound sense of completion. This was what she'd been born to do. How do I look? Samantha asked, though her glowing expression already provided the answer. Like the star you are. Maya replied, meaning every word. The limousine ride to the premiere felt surreal. Maya sat beside Samantha and Victoria, watching the Los Angeles landscape blur past while her dress, prepared to make its debut on one of entertainment's biggest stages. Her phone buzzed constantly with messages from friends, family, even strangers who had somehow gotten her number, all wishing her luck. As they approached the Dolby Theater, Maya could see the massive red carpet setup, the wall of photographers, the crowds of fans pressed against barriers, the entertainment reporters with their camera crews. The scale of it hit her like a physical force. Millions of people around the world would see whatever happened in the next few hours. Maya, Victoria said gently, remember what Marcus told you yesterday. Be excellent and be authentic. You've already achieved the first part. Trust yourself for the second. The limousine stopped. Maya could hear the roar of the crowd, see the flash of cameras through the tinted windows. This was it. Samantha stepped out first, and the reaction was immediate and electric. Cameras flashed like lightning, voices shouted her name, and Maya heard the unmistakable sound of collective appreciation, that surprised murmur that rippled through crowds when they saw something unexpected and beautiful. Maya followed, staying close to Victoria as they walked behind Samantha toward the main photo area. She watched her dress move under the blazing lights, every crystal catching and reflecting the flashes, the train flowing like liquid emerald fire. It was even more stunning than she'd imagined. Maya Washington. A reporter thrust a microphone toward her. Entertainment tonight. Tell us about creating this incredible dress. For a moment, Maya froze. The cameras, the lights, the pressure of saying exactly the right thing with the whole world watching. Then she saw Samantha posing confidently in her creation, radiant and powerful, and found her voice. This dress is about celebrating who Samantha is, Maya said clearly. Not trying to transform her into someone else's idea of a movie star, but amplifying her natural strength and beauty. Every woman deserves to feel that powerful. Where did you train? Another reporter called out. I learned from my grandmother, who was a master seamstress for 60 years, Maya replied with growing confidence. She taught me that creating beauty is about more than technique. It's about understanding the woman who will wear your work and designing something that makes her feel unstoppable. More questions came rapidly. How did this opportunity happen? What's next for you? What do you say to critics who question your qualifications? To the last question, Maya paused, thinking of all the comments she'd read online, all the subtle and not so subtle suggestions that she didn't belong here. When she spoke, her voice carried quiet strength. I say that this dress speaks for itself. Samantha looks incredible, she feels powerful, and that's what matters. Good work stands on its own merit, regardless of who creates it or where they come from. As the red carpet interviews continued, Maya watched the fashion bloggers and entertainment reporters posting real-time updates. The reaction was overwhelmingly positive. Words like stunning, sophisticated, and star-making filled social media. Several major fashion accounts had already reposted photos of Samantha in the dress, praising the design and asking about the mystery designer. But it was the reaction from industry professionals that truly mattered. Maya overheard conversations between stylists, costume designers, and fashion editors, all wanting to know who had created Samantha's dress. She saw them examining photos on their phones, analyzing the construction, the fit, the overall impact. Whoever designed this knows what they're doing, she heard one prominent stylist say to another. This isn't amateur work. This is sophisticated, professional design. As they moved into the theater for the film screening, Samantha caught Maya's arm. Do you see what's happening out there? She asked, her eyes bright with excitement. Everyone's talking about the dress. Not just the entertainment reporters, fashion people, industry professionals, other actors. You've created something that's getting serious attention. Maya nodded, still somewhat in shock. The evening was exceeding her wildest hopes, but she knew the real test would come in the following days, whether this moment of triumph would translate into lasting opportunities. During the film screening, Maya tried to focus on Samantha's powerful performance, but her mind kept drifting to the conversations happening on social media, in fashion circles, among the people who could change her life with a single phone call. At the after-party, those conversations became real. Maya found herself surrounded by people she'd only read about in magazines, renowned stylists, fashion editors, even representatives from major design houses. The attention was overwhelming but intoxicating. Maya Washington? A man in an impeccably tailored tuxedo approached her. I'm Richard Chun, creative director at Meridian Fashion House. We need to talk. Over the next hour, Maya collected business cards, meeting requests, and opportunities that would have seemed impossible just a week ago. A boutique chain wanted to carry her designs. A major department store inquired about a potential collaboration. 3 different celebrities asked about custom pieces for upcoming events, but the conversation that changed everything came from an unexpected source. Excuse me, are you the young lady who designed Samantha's dress? Maya turned to see an elegant, older woman with silver hair and kind eyes. There was something familiar about her, but Maya couldn't place her. Yes, I'm Maya Washington. I'm Dorothy Sterling, the woman said with a warm smile. I own Sterling Boutiques. Perhaps you've heard of us? Maya's breath caught. Sterling Boutiques was legendary, a chain of high-end stores that had launched the careers of dozens of now famous designers. Dorothy Sterling was considered one of the most influential tastemakers in American fashion. "Miss Sterling, it's an honor to meet you," Maya managed. "The honor is mine, dear. I've been watching you tonight, listening to how you talk about your work, observing the reaction to that extraordinary dress. I haven't seen craftsmanship like that in years." Dorothy paused, studying Maya's face. "I'd like to offer you something that could change your life." Maya's heart pounded as Dorothy outlined an opportunity that seemed too good to be true. A partnership that would provide Maya with her own design studio, funding for materials and equipment, and a platform to showcase her work in Sterling's most prestigious locations. "Why me?" Maya asked, still reeling from the offer. "Because you remind me of myself 40 years ago," Dorothy said simply. "Talented, hungry, and absolutely committed to creating something beautiful. The fashion world needs voices like yours, fresh perspectives, authentic stories, real craftsmanship. I've built my business on recognizing that kind of talent before anyone else does." As the evening wound down, Maya found herself on the terrace outside the party venue, looking out over the glittering lights of Los Angeles. Victoria joined her, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. "How are you processing all of this?" Victoria asked. "I'm not sure I am," Maya admitted. "This morning, I was a seamstress working out of a basement apartment. Tonight, I'm apparently a designer with offers from some of the biggest names in fashion." "It doesn't feel real." "It's real," Victoria assured her. "And you deserve every bit of it." "Maya, what you accomplished tonight goes beyond just creating a beautiful dress. You proved that excellence comes from passion and skill, not pedigree. You showed an entire industry that they need to expand their definition of who belongs at the table." Maya thought about her grandmother, about all the beautiful things Essie had created in the shadows, while dreaming of recognition that never came. Tonight felt like vindication not just for Maya, but for every talented person who had been overlooked because they didn't fit traditional expectations. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "Now you get to choose," Victoria replied. "You have options, opportunities, a platform to build the career you've always dreamed of. The question is, what kind of designer do you want to become?" As they prepared to leave, Samantha approached them, still radiant in the emerald dress that had started it all. "Maya, I have something for you," she said, pulling out her phone. "I've been taking pictures all night of people's reactions to this dress. Look at this." She showed Maya dozens of photos, women of all ages and backgrounds who had approached Samantha throughout the evening, wanting to know about the dress, asking about the designer who had created it. Young girls, established actresses, industry executives, fashion editors, all united by their appreciation for what Maya had created. "This is your legacy," Samantha said. "Not just a beautiful dress, but inspiration for every woman who's ever been told she doesn't belong somewhere. You've shown them what's possible." 3 months later, Maya stood in her new design studio. A bright, airy space in the Arts District with floor-to-ceiling windows and professional equipment that had once seemed impossibly out of reach. The walls were lined with sketches for her debut collection, scheduled to show during Los Angeles Fashion Week. On her desk sat a framed photo from premiere night. Samantha in the emerald dress, arms raised in triumph on the red carpet, every crystal catching the light like stars. Next to it was another photo, Maya's grandmother Essie, young and beautiful, standing proudly beside one of her own creations. "We did it, Grandma," Maya whispered, touching the frame gently. "We finally did it." Her phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. "Saw the early reviews of your collection. Get ready, the world is about to discover what I knew all along. You were born for this." Maya smiled, moving to her cutting table where emerald silk waited for her touch. She had learned that dreams weren't just about having talent or even getting opportunities. They were about having the courage to believe. You deserved them and the strength to prove it when the moment came. The girl who had once heated leftover rice in a basement apartment was gone, replaced by a woman who knew her worth and wasn't afraid to claim her place in the world. But she would never forget where she came from, or the simple act of kindness that had opened doors she hadn't even known existed. Sometimes, the universe sends exactly the right person at exactly the right moment. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to answer when opportunity knocks, you discover that you were exactly who you were always meant to be. The seamstress had become the designer. The dream had become reality. And Maya Washington was just getting started. 6 months after the premiere, Maya found herself standing in the historic Palace Hotel in San Francisco, overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge as she prepared for the most important presentation of her career. The sterling partnership had exceeded every expectation, but tonight would determine whether she was ready for the next level. International expansion. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called, still adjusting the burgundy blazer she'd designed for this meeting. "Maya." A familiar voice made her turn. Victoria Blackwood stood in the doorway, but she wasn't alone. Behind her was a woman Maya had only seen in fashion magazines, Isabella Chun, the legendary editor-in-chief of Global Fashion Weekly and arguably the most powerful person in international fashion. "Isabella wanted to meet you before tonight's presentation," Victoria explained, though her expression suggested this was about more than a casual introduction. Isabella stepped forward, her sharp eyes taking in everything about Maya, her posture, her custom-designed outfit, the confident way she held herself. "Ms. Washington, I've been following your work since the Rhodes premiere. Impressive trajectory for someone so new to the industry." "Thank you," Maya replied, sensing there was more coming. "I'm here because I have a proposition," Isabella continued. Global Fashion Weekly is launching the new initiative, spotlighting emerging designers from non-traditional backgrounds who are reshaping the industry. "We want you to be our cover story for the September issue." Maya's breath caught. The September issue of Global Fashion Weekly was considered the most important fashion publication of the year, setting trends and launching careers worldwide. That's an incredible opportunity." "There's more," Isabella said with a slight smile. "We want to feature not just your current work, but your vision for the future. Specifically, your plans for the Maya Washington Foundation." Maya blinked in surprise. She'd only discussed the foundation idea with her closest advisors, the dream of creating opportunities for aspiring designers from underserved communities, providing scholarships, mentorship, and resources to talented individuals who lacked traditional access to the fashion world. "How did you know about that?" Maya asked. "Word travels fast in our industry," Isabella replied, "especially when it's about something as potentially transformative as what you're proposing. The fashion world has been criticized for decades about diversity and inclusion. Most attempts at change have been superficial. But what you're planning, creating real pathways for talent to be discovered and nurtured regardless of background, that could actually shift the paradigm." Victoria stepped forward. "Maya, Isabella isn't just here as a journalist. She's here as someone who wants to help make the foundation a reality." Isabella nodded. "I've spoken with my board of directors. Global Fashion Weekly is prepared to partner with you on this initiative. We can provide funding, media coverage, and access to our network of industry professionals who could serve as mentors." Maya sank into the nearest chair, overwhelmed. This is beyond anything I imagined. But why? Why invest so much in something that's still just an idea?" "Because ideas like yours are exactly what our industry needs," Isabella replied. "Maya, you've already proven that exceptional talent exists in places we weren't looking. Now you want to systematically find and nurture that talent It's brilliant, it's necessary, and it's long overdue. As they discussed the details of the partnership, Maya found herself thinking about the journey that had brought her to this moment. Less than a year ago, she'd been heating leftover rice in a basement apartment, wondering if her dreams were foolish fantasies. Now she was planning a foundation that could change the lives of countless aspiring designers. "There's one condition," Isabella added as their meeting concluded. "We want complete transparency about your story. The struggles, the setbacks, the moments of doubt. Too many success stories in fashion are sanitized, made to seem effortless. Your story, the real story, is what will inspire others." That evening, Maya stood before an audience of fashion industry executives, investors, and media representatives, presenting her vision for the future of Maya Washington Designs. The presentation went flawlessly, but it was the Q&A session afterward that revealed the true impact of her journey. "Ms. Washington," called out a young woman from the back of the room, "I'm a design student at Parsons, and I wanted to thank you. Seeing your success has given me hope that there's room in this industry for people who don't fit the traditional mold." Similar comments came from throughout the audience, young designers, industry professionals, even established executives, who spoke about how Maya's story had changed their perspective on talent and opportunity. After the presentation, as Maya mingled with potential investors and collaborators, she was approached by a familiar face, Marcus Williams, the influential stylist who had validated her work during Samantha's fitting. "Maya, I have something to tell you," Marcus said, his expression serious. "That first day, when I saw your dress on Samantha, I made some calls. I reached out to designers I've worked with for years, people whose opinions I trust. I wanted to get their perspective on your work." Maya felt a flutter of anxiety. What did they say? They said it was some of the most sophisticated construction they'd seen from any designer, regardless of experience level. But more than that, they said, it showed an understanding of fashion as storytelling that most designers never develop. Marcus paused. "I'm telling you this because I want you to understand, your success isn't charity or luck. It's a pure talent meeting opportunity." As the evening wound down, Maya found herself on the hotel's rooftop terrace, looking out over San Francisco's glittering skyline. The fog was rolling in from the Pacific, creating a dreamlike atmosphere that seemed appropriate for the surreal turn her life had taken. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Saw the news coverage of your presentation online. Your grandmother is smiling down from heaven. So proud of you, baby girl." Maya smiled, thinking about Essie and all the conversations they'd had about dreams and determination. Her grandmother had always believed that talent would eventually find its way to the light, but Maya knew now that sometimes talent needed help navigating the path. "Maya," she turned to see Dorothy Sterling approaching, elegant as always despite the late hour. "Magnificent presentation tonight. You've exceeded every expectation. Thank you, Miss Sterling, for everything. I know I've said it before, but I'll never be able to express how much your belief in me has meant." Dorothy waved off the gratitude. "I invested in talent, Maya. Everything that's happened since has been the result of your own hard work and vision." She paused, studying Maya's face. "But I want to talk to you about something else. Something personal." Maya waited, curious about the shift in Dorothy's tone. 42 years ago, I was in a similar position to yours. Young, talented, but from a background that didn't traditionally lead to fashion success. An older woman, much like I am to you now, took a chance on me. She provided funding, mentorship, and most importantly, she believed in my vision when no one else would. Dorothy's voice grew soft with memory. Her name was Margaret Chun, Isabella's grandmother actually. She built a fashion empire by recognizing talent in unexpected places. When she died, she left me a letter explaining that her investment in me came with one condition, that I would someday do the same for another young designer who reminded me of myself. Maya felt goosebumps rise on her arms as she began to understand the deeper significance of Dorothy's support. You were that designer, Maya. From the moment I saw your work, heard your story, I knew you were the one Margaret would have chosen. Her investment in me has now been passed to you, and someday you'll do the same for someone else. The weight of this revelation settled over Maya like a warm blanket. Her success wasn't just about her own dreams. It was part of a legacy of women supporting women, of established professionals creating opportunities for the next generation. The foundation you're planning, Dorothy continued, that's how you'll continue this cycle. Every designer you help, every scholarship you provide, every barrier you break down, that's Margaret's legacy living on through your work. As Dorothy left Maya alone on the terrace, Maya pulled out her phone and opened the Notes app. She began typing, recording the emotions and realizations of this extraordinary day. These words would become part of her first book, a memoir that would inspire countless readers to pursue their own dreams despite the odds. Today I learned that success isn't just about achieving your own dreams, she wrote. It's about using your platform to make those dreams possible for others. The dress that changed my life was just the beginning. The real work, the work that will define my legacy, is helping others discover their own power to transform dreams into reality. A year later, Maya stood in the main hall of the newly opened Maya Washington Design Center in downtown Los Angeles. The space was magnificent, high ceilings, natural light flooding through skylights, cutting-edge equipment, and workspace for dozens of emerging designers. But what made her proudest were the faces surrounding her, young designers from every conceivable background, each working on projects that reflected their unique perspectives and experiences. Maya, called out Jasmine Rodriguez, one of the foundation's first scholarship recipients. The prototype for the sustainable evening wear line is ready for your review. As Maya examined Jasmine's innovative use of recycled materials to create stunning formal wear, she marveled at how the foundation had already exceeded her wildest expectations. In just 12 months, they had provided scholarships to 36 aspiring designers, placed graduates in prestigious internships, and launched a mentorship program that paired emerging talent with established professionals. This is extraordinary work, Jasmine, Maya said, admiring the intricate beadwork created from recycled glass. You've solved the sustainability challenge without compromising elegance. This could revolutionize how we think about formal wear. The center buzzed with activity as designers worked on everything from avant-garde art pieces to practical everyday wear. Maya had insisted that the foundation support all forms of design innovation, not just haute couture. Fashion, she believed, should be accessible and inclusive, not confined to elite circles. Ms. Washington, a nervous voice made her turn. A young man with kind eyes and calloused hands stood nearby, clutching a portfolio. I'm David Kim. I'm here for the portfolio review. Maya smiled warmly. Of course. Let's take a look at your work. As David opened his portfolio, revealing designs that were both practical and beautiful, Maya saw something that reminded her of her own early sketches, raw talent, combined with deep understanding of how clothing could empower the wearer. Tell me about this piece, Maya said, pointing to a sketch of a work uniform that managed to be both functional and dignified. I worked in a factory for 3 years before I could afford design school, David explained. I watched my co-workers struggle with uniforms that were uncomfortable and unflattering. This design provides better mobility, moisture-wicking fabric, and cuts that actually flatter different body types. Maya nodded approvingly. This was exactly the kind of thinking the foundation was meant to support. Design that solve real problems for real people. David, I'd like to offer you a full scholarship to our intensive program, Maya said. Your understanding of practical design needs combined with your aesthetic sense is exactly what the fashion industry needs more of. As the day continued, Maya moved through the center reviewing projects, offering guidance and watching dreams take shape in real time. Each interaction reminded her of her own journey from that basement apartment to this moment. Her assistant approached her schedule. "Maya, you have the Global Fashion Weekly interview in an hour, then the video call with the Milan investors about the European expansion. And tonight is the gala celebrating the foundation's first anniversary." Maya nodded, then paused. "Before all that, I want to visit someone." An hour later, Maya stood in the Atlanta cemetery where her grandmother was buried, holding a copy of Global Fashion Weekly with her own face on the cover. The headline read, "The Revolutionary, How Maya Washington is Transforming Fashion from the Ground Up." "Hey, Grandma Essie," Maya said softly, placing the magazine on the headstone. "I thought you'd want to see this. We made it, not just me, but all of us. Every woman who was told she wasn't good enough, every dreamer who was told to be realistic, every seamstress who created beauty in the shadows while hoping someone would notice." The wind rustled through the trees, and Maya could almost hear her grandmother's voice. "Baby girl, I always knew you had it in you. But I'm proudest that you're using your gifts to lift others up. That's what makes success truly beautiful." That evening, at the Foundation's anniversary gala, Maya stood before an audience that included everyone who had shaped her journey. Victoria, Samantha, Dorothy, Isabella, Marcus, and hundreds of designers, industry professionals, and supporters who believed in the Foundation's mission. "A year ago tonight," Maya began, "I was working on a dress in my basement apartment, wondering if my dreams were too big for my circumstances. Tonight, I stand here surrounded by evidence that dreams don't have size limits. We do." She gestured to the displays around the room showcasing work by Foundation scholars, each piece representing a story of talent discovered and nurtured. "The Maya Washington Foundation isn't just about creating opportunities for individual designers," Maya continued. "It's about proving that excellence comes from everywhere, that innovation happens when we expand our definition of who belongs at the creative table. Every scholarship we provide, every barrier we break down, every success story we celebrate is a reminder that potential exists in places we weren't looking." As applause filled the room, Maya thought about the young woman who had once believed that good work would speak for itself. She'd learned that while good work was essential, it also needed advocates, opportunities, and platforms to be heard. "Tonight, I want to announce our next initiative," Maya said as the applause died down. "The Essie Washington International Program, named for my grandmother, will provide opportunities for talented designers worldwide. Because creativity doesn't recognize borders, and neither should opportunity." The announcement was met with thunderous applause, but Maya's attention was drawn to a young woman in the audience who was crying tears of joy. She reminded Maya of herself not so long ago, hungry, talented, and desperate for someone to believe in her potential. After the gala, as Maya finally made her way home to the beautiful house she'd bought in the Hollywood Hills, a far cry from the basement apartment, but decorated with the same care and attention to detail, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. The girl who had once fixed a stranger's torn dress for free had become a woman who was systematically fixing the tears in an entire industry. The seamstress who had dreamed of recognition had become a designer whose greatest recognition came from watching others achieve their dreams. Maya Washington had learned that true success wasn't just about reaching your own destination. It was about building bridges for others to follow. And as she looked out over the lights of Los Angeles, she knew that the best chapters of her story were still being written. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hits the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.